Imagine the sky flashes so bright that everyone in town walks to the window. That feels reasonable, right? You see a second sunrise, your brain says, "Hey, go look at the weird thing." Then the shockwave arrives later, the glass becomes shrapnel, and suddenly the apocalypse wasn't the rock from space. It was curiosity at the window. So, yes, this is how to survive every apocalypse scenario. Asteroid, nuclear blast, pandemic, supervolcano, grid collapse, tsunami, extreme weather, zombie movie nonsense, all of it. And the normal assumption is that every apocalypse needs its own special plan. You need the asteroid plan, the mushroom cloud plan, the robot uprising plan, the bunker plan with shelves of beans and a suspicious amount of duct tape. But here's the uncomfortable part. Most people don't die in disasters because they didn't know one exotic survival trick. They die because the first few decisions are backwards. They run when they should shelter. They shelter when they should run. They trust the wrong signal. They stare at the thing that is about to hurt them. The apocalypse is usually not one problem. It's a chain reaction, and your job is to break the chain early. The useful way to think about this isn't, what disaster is this? It's, what is killing people first? What kills people next? And what do I need to still be alive when help, weather, or physics changes the situation? That gives us a surprisingly small survival map. Air, impact, heat, water, information, infection, and other people. If you can sort those in the right order, you don't become invincible. Sorry. But you stop making movie character decisions in real life. Start with the meanest rule. The thing that is loudest isn't always the thing that is most dangerous. If a meteor explodes overhead, the flash reaches you first because light is ridiculously fast. The shockwave travels at the speed of sound, which means it can arrive after the part that makes everyone curious. That is basically what happened over Chelyabinsk in 2013. A space rock exploded high in the atmosphere, and many injuries came from broken glass after people had time to look toward windows. The sky did the warning. The windows did the damage. That one detail is a whole survival philosophy. When something impossible happens, don't go closer to understand it. Put mass between you and the unknown. Get low. Get away from glass. Cover your head and neck. The first apocalypse skill is boring, almost insulting. Don't inspect the hazard while it is still becoming a hazard. You can apply that to earthquakes too. In a quake, the ground is the problem, but running is often the second problem. People fall. Ceiling tiles come down. Bricks shed from buildings. So the classic advice, drop, cover, and hold on, isn't a magic shield. It's a way to stop your body from becoming a loose object in a room full of other loose objects. Under a sturdy table isn't heroic. It's just better than sprinting through a hallway while the building is doing its worst impression of a blender. Now hold on, because sometimes sheltering is exactly wrong. If you're at the coast and the ocean suddenly sucks away from the beach, or a long earthquake just happened and you're in tsunami country, the correct move isn't to film the spooky empty seabed. It is to go uphill or inland immediately. A tsunami in deep ocean can be just a low rolling change in water level, but near shore, that energy piles up. The scary wall of water in movies is only one version. Sometimes it's a fast, filthy surge that keeps coming in pulses. The first wave might not be the biggest one. That's the part people miss. NOAA has deep ocean tsunami sensors called DART systems that use pressure recorders on the seafloor and buoys at the surface to warn people before waves arrive. That's amazing technology. But if you're standing on a beach after a violent quake, your body might get the warning before your phone does. The ground shook. The water acted wrong. The ocean is basically holding up a giant sign that says, "Leave." So the first big survival split is this. Is the outside trying to hit you, burn you, cut you, or poison you? If yes, get inside and put structure between you and it. But if the place you're in is about to flood, burn, collapse, or be buried, leave early, not dramatically late. That sounds obvious until the nuclear scenario shows up and messes with everyone's instincts. A nuclear blast feels like the ultimate runaway event. You see a flash, you think, get out of the city. But after the initial blast and heat, one of the biggest survivable dangers is fallout. Fallout is dust and debris that has been made radioactive and then starts falling back down. It isn't green slime, it's more like invisible danger hitchhiking on particles. And particles can be blocked, washed off, and waited out. This is where the survival move is deeply uncinematic. Get inside the nearest sturdy building, not your favorite building, not your house across town, the nearest solid shelter. Go to the middle or basement if you can. Put as much wall, earth, and distance between you and the outside dust as possible. If you've been outside, remove your outer clothing, bag it if you can, and wash exposed skin and hair gently. That one clothing step can remove a huge amount of radioactive material from your body. Not because clothes are magic, but because dust lands on the outside layer first. And here's the strange part. A dirty bomb is different from a nuclear bomb. A dirty bomb uses normal explosives to spread radioactive material. It can't create a nuclear blast. That doesn't make it harmless, obviously, but it changes the survival logic. The explosion is local. The contamination is the worry. So again, the pattern isn't panic, sprint, improvise. It's distance, shielding, time, and information. Time is the hidden character in almost every apocalypse. Radiation from fresh fallout drops fastest early on. Floodwater can rise or recede. Smoke shifts with wind. Infection spreads through contact networks. Crowds change after supplies run out. If you can buy safe time, you buy choices. But time only helps if you're not quietly losing the boring essentials. And this is where the prepper fantasy gets a little silly. People love gear because gear feels like control. Big knife, solar charger, tactical spoon. The apocalypse aisle has a vibe, but the survival kit that matters most is aggressively unglamorous. Water, food that doesn't need cooking, medications, light, radio, batteries or chargers, basic first aid, sanitation, copies of important documents, cash, and a way to stay warm or cool. The famous baseline is 1 gallon of water per person per day, because water isn't just for drinking. It's for hygiene, basic cleaning, and keeping your body from becoming the emergency. The order matters. You can be scared of asteroids all you want, but diarrhea from bad water will humble civilization faster than a chainsaw drone. In many disasters, the water system fails before the world ends. Pipes break. Floodwater mixes with sewage. Power outages stop treatment pumps. People see a clear stream and think, nature. Microbes see a free Uber. So the universal water rule is stored water first, sealed drinks second, treated water third, mystery water last. Boiling works when you can boil. Filters can remove many microbes and sediment, but not every chemical. Chemical disinfectants can help with many germs, but they don't erase fuel, heavy metals, or radioactive contamination. That's the annoying truth. There isn't one magic straw that turns apocalypse soup into spa water. Food is simpler than people think. In the first stretch, calories beat cuisine. You want things you already eat, that won't make you sick, that don't require a working stove. Cans are great until you forget the manual can opener, which is the most embarrassing way to lose dinner. And if you're sheltering inside during a radiation event, chemical spill, wildfire smoke, or civil unrest, you don't want supplies in the garage if reaching them means walking through the hazard. But the sneakiest supply is sanitation. Trash bags, wipes, soap, hand sanitizer, menstrual products, diapers if needed, and a plan for human waste. That sounds less exciting than a bunker door, but after a few days, bad sanitation turns a survivable outage into a disease machine. Civilization is basically water treatment, trash pickup, and people agreeing not to cough into the salad bar. Which brings us to pandemics, the apocalypse that doesn't look like an apocalypse at first. A pandemic is weird because the danger is carried by normal life. The threat isn't a wave you can see or a fire line on a map. It's dinner, school, work, travel, hands, air, and tiny delays in people's choices. That makes it psychologically hard because your brain wants danger to look dangerous. A sick person might look fine. A safe-looking room might have stale air. A dramatic symptom might matter less than the quiet day before symptoms. The survival pattern is layers, not perfection. Ventilation means bringing in fresh air or filtering indoor air so germs don't build up like smoke. Masks work best when they're well-fitted and used in the riskiest settings, especially crowded indoor places during outbreaks. Vaccines, when available for the disease, train the immune system before the real fight. Staying home while contagious protects other people, which later protects you because you're part of the same network. The uncommon thing people miss is that pandemics punish individual heroes' stories. In a flood, you might personally climb to the roof. In a pandemic, your safety depends on strangers making decent choices before you ever meet them. The survival unit isn't just the person, it's the network. Families, schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, hospitals. If the network gets overloaded, ordinary emergencies become worse. A broken ankle is scarier when the hospital is drowning. So surviving the pandemic apocalypse isn't just hoarding soup. It's reducing spread early, keeping medical systems usable, and maintaining trust without pretending every rumor is a secret truth. Bad information is a pathogen with better marketing. And that leads to the apocalypse nobody wants to admit is personal: grid collapse. When the power goes out, modern life starts losing organs. First, the lights and internet, then refrigeration, then payment systems, then fuel pumps, then water pressure in some places, then phone batteries. The disaster might be a cyber attack, an ice storm, wildfire damage, a hurricane, a heat wave, or a severe solar storm. The cause changes. The dependency chain doesn't. A solar storm is a good example because it sounds like science fiction, but it's just the sun being rude. In 1859, during the Carrington event, telegraph systems had strange failures, sparks, and auroras seen far from the poles. Today's grid is much bigger and more complicated, so a severe geomagnetic storm could stress long power lines and transformers. That doesn't mean every solar flare sends us to the Stone Age. Most don't. But it does mean the sky can reach into wires. Your survival move is to shrink your dependency radius. Have offline maps. Keep some cash. Know how to open your garage door manually. Keep fuel safely stored only where it's legal and appropriate. Have a radio that doesn't depend on your phone. Write down important numbers because a dead phone turns everyone you love into a username you half remember. And please, the indoor generator thing, don't. A generator, grill, or camp stove inside can make carbon monoxide, a gas you can't see or smell, and it can kill people who thought they were solving the outage. The apocalypse doesn't care that you had good intentions. Now, what about the giant movie apocalypses? Supervolcano, asteroid winter, nuclear winter, runaway climate disasters. The ones where the sun goes dim and crops fail. This is where the whole idea of surviving every scenario has to grow up. You can survive the first minute with reflexes. You can survive the first days with supplies. But you survive the long apocalypse through systems. Food production, clean water, medical care, heat, governance, cooperation, repair skills. Seeds are useful, sure, but seeds don't replace soil knowledge, seasons, tools, storage, pest control, and a community that doesn't eat the seed stock in week 2. A supervolcano or large impact could throw particles high into the atmosphere and cool the surface for a while. The exact consequences depend on size, chemistry, location, season, and a lot of complicated climate behavior. But the practical problem is simple: shorter growing seasons and disrupted food distribution. That's not solved by one family's basement. That's solved by regional planning, stored staples, protected agriculture, trade routes, and boring institutions that still function when everyone is tired and scared. This is the deeper reveal. The most powerful survival tool isn't toughness, it's continuity. The ability to keep doing the small civilized things when the big civilized story gets interrupted. Clean water, shared information, fair distribution, conflict resolution, childcare, repairs, waste disposal, checking on the elderly neighbor whose medication is in a warming fridge. The zombie apocalypse is accidentally useful here, even though zombies are fake. Not because it teaches you how to fight monsters, but because it asks a real question. What happens when people become the hazard? The answer isn't become the toughest loner in a leather jacket. Lone wolves get dental infections and then have a very short season finale. Human danger rises when people are desperate, misinformed, trapped, or convinced nobody else will play fair. So the survival move is to reduce desperation before it peaks. Know your neighbors before the disaster. Share verified information. Avoid crowds where panic has more energy than leadership. Don't advertise supplies, but don't build your whole plan around paranoia either. A trusted group can guard, cook, repair, care for kids, filter water, and make better decisions than one exhausted person with a flashlight clenched in their teeth. This is why evacuation isn't just movement, it's social math. If officials say leave before a hurricane and you wait until water is crossing the road, you're not being independent. You're moving your emergency onto rescue crews. If you leave early with a plan, documents, medicine, fuel, pets handled, and a destination, you're making the whole system less fragile. But if officials say shelter because the outside is contaminated and you drive into fallout, smoke, or chemical vapor, you're doing the opposite. The apocalypse skill isn't bravery, it's matching the action to the hazard. So here's the clean version you can actually remember. If air is bad, seal distance between you and outside air, get to cleaner indoor air, and listen for instructions. If water is coming, go high. If the ground shakes, get low and covered, then leave damaged structures when shaking stops. If fire is coming, leave early, because smoke and blocked roads are faster than your optimism. If radiation dust is outside, get inside, remove outer layers, wash, and wait for real instructions. If disease is spreading, reduce shared air and risky contact before hospitals are overwhelmed. If the grid fails, conserve power, prevent poisoning, protect water, and switch from internet brain to radio brain. If society gets tense, choose calm groups over dramatic loner moves. And the final weird trick is this. Practice decisions, not fantasies. Walk through your house and ask, where's the safest interior room? Where's the water shut off? What if the door is blocked? What if my phone dies? What if I need to leave in 10 minutes? What if I need to stay inside for 2 days? The point isn't to become afraid of your home. It's to stop meeting your own life for the first time during an emergency. The apocalypse, if it comes, probably won't announce itself with a title card. It might look like a beautiful flash in the sky, a quiet cough at dinner, a phone with no signal, an ocean pulling back like it's taking a breath, or a normal day that suddenly asks you to choose fast. Survival isn't one perfect bunker. It's a sequence of decent choices made early enough to matter. Get away from glass. Get above water. Get inside from fallout. Get clean air. Get safe water. Get reliable information. Get other people you can trust. The world doesn't have to fully end for those rules to save your life. And if you remember nothing else, remember the window. When the impossible thing happens, don't stare at it through glass. Move first. Understand second.